Um, but yes, this is an info session for our Procurement with Purpose mapping RFP, where I'm pretty much just going to go over the RFP as it's written, demo our map, and then also have space mostly for Q&A. Um, and go over some of the ins and outs of the application as well. So thank you all for joining us. My name is Andy Olive. I'm here with my colleague Keisha from Fresh Approach. We are a Bay Area nonprofit, food systems nonprofit. We got our start in farmers markets in 2008. Over the years, have expanded in all sorts of ways with programs I'm sure you all are familiar with. We do the Market Match Double Up Bucks program, mobile farmers markets, food is medicine and produce prescriptions. We have community gardening, urban agriculture, run farmers markets, workforce development, um, and emergency food distribution via the LFPA program, the Local Food Purchasing Assistance Program, which we'll be talking about later today. That's some of our background, so probably familiar with a lot of the kinds of works you all are doing. But today's story is really about this mapping RFP. So a little bit of background. In 2020, during COVID, we were a recipient of the Farmers to Families Food Box Grant, which later became LFPA, Local Food Purchasing Assistance Program. In 2020, the way we ran it, and sort of still the way we run it, is as a hub and spoke distribution model, where we took the federal dollars, we then re-administered it through food hubs and nonprofits, who then in turn redistributed it through for the procurement of local fruits and vegetables to the distribution to food banks and community food partners doing emergency relief during COVID. Back then, we really realized that we had an amazing opportunity to map our values-based supply chains with that program. With, I think, $3 million, then we purchased from about 90 farms and eight different food hubs and distributed to like 50 pantries. So it was a really interesting way to visualize, we thought, um, the impacts of that program, as well as all of the interconnectedness and certain demographic data that a lot of folks always want to back up that the purchasing they're doing is the purchasing they want to be doing. When they announced LFPA, Local Food Purchasing Assistance Program in 2020, I don't know, three maybe, two. We a lot secured that grant in collaboration with two other organizations in California to administer the model I just laid out, but statewide, to the tune of close to $70 million. It fluctuates depending how you interpret it. And so that same idea we had of mapping our food system just took on even more relevance or opportunity. So to date, our LFPA program has touched around maybe 800 plus farms, 50 plus food hubs, and 70 or so nonprofit food distributors. And as a part of LFPA, we collected what we thought is pretty interesting information, such as just demographic ownership. For those who are familiar with LFPA, it was intended to procure from socially disadvantaged growers. So we really had to collect that information as conditional to the grant. So in this project, we realized that mapping was just a great way to visualize impact as well as back up to our funder, in this case, the state and the USDA, that the funding was reaching the intended farms. And then through that process, we realized that actually maybe more interesting than visualizing the impact from our own project was the tool we developed. We hear all the time in our world the need for mapping, the need for interconnectedness, the need for collaboration, the need for knowing what everyone else is doing. And we thought the tool we had was ripe for sharing, such that groups don't need to start from scratch when they are building their own or wanting to build their own map, whether using Google or GIS. We just thought, knowing what we do about the food systems and the kinds of ways people might want to visualize it, we could create a best guess for other food system practitioners who would want to utilize their own data sets to visualize maybe a specific question they have or a specific impact they're trying to. So we developed a tool in prototype form um, using an out-of-the-box solution called Sigma. And what I mean by out-of-the-box solution, I mean we basically are paying for a subscription to a software system that is customizable to some degree, but it's still a payment service to that organization and is not as customizable as we will one day want. So in this prototype stage, it has, I think, 80 to 90% of what we want, but not everything. Um, but enough for us to get it into the hands of other organizations to really test that hypothesis that other organizations might have a use for this, might have some practical, yeah, challenge or opportunity to use their data. And in doing so, in identifying a couple prototypes to test and prove that's true, then our goal is to go out and bring that to funders to seek a much larger investment to rebuild this tool from scratch, um, so that when it's rebuilt, it can absolutely be shared and replicated at scale. And our mission and vision is to make it shareable for free to mission-driven food systems practitioners because we're not trying to create capitalist product that with barriers of entry. We think this tool should be freely available long term. But before we do that, we're really trying to identify in this project strong partners who are ready to hit the ground running on this, test unique use cases different from our own, um, and help us strategically prepare for that fundraising effort. Um, which will need to be, bigger than what we've um, received so far, because the software will be built from scratch. Um, that's the intro. I'm gonna stop now for questions on that before I go into the mapping live demo, and before I go into the application process. So does anyone have any questions? Feel free to come off mute or put them in the chat. Wow. I think that must mean I did such a good job. And only on half a cup of coffee. Um, great. So my sense then is you all just want to get going and see the map and what it might do, and probably ask some questions about what it can do and cannot do. So let's go into it. Sharing screen. All right. Can folks see what I'm looking at? A map? Because I can't see your face anymore. Okay. I think I got a thumbs up. And Acacia, if you see questions coming in, you can feel free to interrupt me. Great. So, this is the tool we have to date, and all of the data you're seeing is true data to our LFPA program. So we're going to call this page a dashboard. And as you're thinking about your programs, just realize that what we're going to be creating for you all is a custom dashboard. So what you're seeing here is what we wanted to visualize for our program, the important key metrics we wanted to see first, and the relationships on the map that were important to us. But everything you see is real, though perhaps a little bit outdated. So for us, our story is really simple. We want to show investment into farms as a result of LFPA. And so those numbers on the top are exactly that. Should be as straightforward as it can be. We've invested 40.5 million. This is outdated, I think. The number of farms, 755. It's actually a bit higher than that. And average spent per farm. You can see it's interesting to us to capture which counties were the most supported. Um, And then when you scroll down, you'll see the map, which is just sort of a mess because there's a lot of organizations represented. And you can see the color coding indicating the types of organizations who received the fund, who are part of the project. I'm not going to show you the connections yet because that will be quite messy. But this is an interactive map, so to think through in your applications is what you would want to filter and what you'd want to see. So for us, our key metric that the USDA was looking for at the time, now they care nothing at all about, is who is socially disadvantaged, or what dollars went to socially disadvantaged growers. So I just filtered on that, and you can see that 31 million of that 40 is going to socially disadvantaged growers. The number of farms represented. And down here, if I toggle on and off, you can see that we're now just visualizing those groups who are identifying as socially disadvantaged growers. We have more qualifiers as well. I'll do um, women-owned farms. So now we're just looking at women-owned farms in our entire network. 15 million, everything updates, all of the counties update, the map updates. Maybe we want to do certified organic and socially disadvantaged. Again, the numbers update. All should be pretty straightforward. Um, Small farms, I don't think we've collected as much information. No, maybe we have. These are farms whose sales are under $350,000 per year. Right now, all of the data you're seeing is anonymized because we don't have permission to share with you all these sort of financial numbers. But I'll come back to data privacy in a bit later. Um, Another interesting note here is this procurement data is set. We can um, see where we were at a certain time in the program. So I'm going to look at February of 2025. Did that update? No. Let's see. Whoops. Let's see. Okay. Let's do October 2024. So now we're going back historically and seeing where the program was then. So we can visualize impact over time and in a snapshot of time. Everything else still is remains the same in terms of filters. We have multiple funding streams as part of this project. Even though it's federal, it's just wonky in California. It's split between basically two pots, one based on the agencies. So one we're calling is from our Department of Agriculture, and one is from our Department of Social Services. So we can separate out the funding streams to visualize for those funders just the part of the pie that's theirs to see where their dollars went specifically. Um, Now on to connections, because we do think a unique part of this opportunity is to visualize the connections. So I'm going to look at one of our food hubs down in San Diego. So this is their network. Again, all of the filters, you can see the impact numbers changed. All of the filters work as well. Again, the numbers all change. Who of their purchasing was socially disadvantaged. And now I'm going to toggle on connections. So it's just another way to visualize who these groups are connected to. So red indicates that they're a food hub, blue is their farm purchasing, yellow is the food bank that they were selling to. So essentially their food bank partner, their buyer. Um, what's again interesting is the interconnectedness. So I'm just going to pick another group in their region. Um, and you can begin to see where there's overlap between everybody, who's connected to who. Um, when you scroll over any individual, you will see the specific information about them, those demographics that are important to us, the amount of uh, dollars that have gone to that farm. Um, if you scroll over a food hub, you see their aggregate um, purchasing um, as well. And then again, if you toggle and only wanted to see who's certified organic, well, that looks like that information might not be there. Um, who of these farms identify as BIPOC just toggled as well, and the map changes. So that, oh, someone's been in the waiting room. So that's one. That's how we use the data, and I'm also going to show for you all um, a dummy set of data for what another uh, potential use cases. So this information is fake information. So you'll see names of organizations. The names happen to be real in the general locations, but otherwise. So for this map, we wanted to visualize less about connections and more about capacity of our food system, who out there is doing what, and how are they doing it, specifically on infrastructure capacity. So I'm gonna scroll over here to show you the things that we want to visualize most, which is just infrastructure. So right now I'm looking at a processor and who has milling facilities. Right now, I'm looking at a food hub that has a tractor. I don't know why a food hub would have a tractor, but in this case, they do. Um, this would be, let's see what else. A farm that has a packing line, a refrigerated box truck, and aggregation site. Here, built on the same platform, you can see the different things we can do and the different dashboard opportunities. Here, there wasn't really much need for impact numbers. It was more about visualizing capacity. But we have things the organization types organized by kind of organization, upstream meaning closer to the production, middle being processors, distributors, downstream being, potential buyers or where the food is ending up. We have filters, for example, about what products might be available. If I just wanted to see who's working with, who is producing or selling grains, I'm just looking at that. If you wanted to um, zoom into a single county, if you were interested in it, you could do that. Um, delivery days, delivery ranges. If you wanted to know um, has who uses GAP or is certified for GAP, you can do that. There's also the opportunity to map and visualize gaps, like things that a group might not have or need. Say, let's look at language barriers. Who is an organization that might struggle with, yeah, working with technical assistance providers. Veritable Vegetable, I can confirm, does not have language barriers, but in this story, they do. Technical assistance offerings. So this is just another example of what you can do, is it doesn't have to be a producer, it doesn't have to be a farm. You could be a food system TA provider. Um, maybe provide grants on infrastructure or labor and workforce. Um, these are all examples. There's even more data behind this that you could use and customize. And so lastly, I am going to show you all what this is built on right now, which is just a um, spreadsheet. Um, see, one second. Oops. Screen. Share. Okay. So it's not very high tech how things this is built in this version. Long term, this mapping tool will be built in an online platform where every organization is in charge of their own data and where they're uploading into closer to like a Salesforce database, something like that. But for now, the map is updated with Excel sheets. And so here, all this project really is one long spreadsheet with data you could collect in an application. You don't have to. It would be a lot and crazy if any project is trying to collect every piece of this data. It's more about this is your starting point to identify what data points you might want to visualize, and this is how we're collecting it, and this is what feeds the map. And I'm going to pause for air and questions. Um, any questions? That was a lot. I'll get more into what the implications are for an application and for you all next. Any questions in the chat? Wow. Well, I guess still none. That's great. Um, all right, if there's no, oh, someone come up chat.
Excuse me. Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Hi. So is there malleability to put in other variables of things that we might also want to track? So a big thing here is we're trying to track like major crop produced by farm, like what is their 70% or over thing that they are producing to figure out like what region is producing what vegetable, where it's coming from, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, great question. And good segue as well. So the reason this is a prototype is because not only are we going to be giving access to this map and an opportunity to customize it, we will spend time with every group to do greater customization because it helps us advance the project. And what that really simply is creating more columns in the spreadsheet for the things you're looking to do. So we will review applications and see sort of the feasibility of what might be missing here, if it's easily incorporatable as a column, which in most every case, I'm finding things are just as long as you can figure out a way to ask the question and standardize the answer, and we can create a column to visualize it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Um, any other questions before I go a little bit more into that? Great. So I will explain sort of the process if you are awarded this RFP. And that is, we're looking for four groups. And what happens is basically an orientation and an introduction where we drill into your specific use case and see what might be missing from the current capacity of the map or current capabilities of the map. And then we work with our developer to make those additions. And at this point, because our entire framework and foundation is pretty much built, that process shouldn't take very long. And then you'll have time to use the map and get your data in. In terms of data exchange, the way it works right now is the data will need to come to us as an Excel file, and we will upload the data on y'all's behalf, and then your organization will have a customized login to an email. So you will be able to use the tool exactly as I just showed. There is an opportunity for folks who are interested in publishing their map publicly that is an opportunity or a capability as well. So it can either be privately held via that email or published. Um, what else? The back and forth with us is really just putting in your hands and seeing if it's working or not working, some check-ins and surveys to answer that, and some opportunity to go back and forth with our developer a couple times to make changes. I'm going to speak some to what the map is not really capable of right now, but we hope will be in the next incarnation, which is design. What you saw is pretty much what yours will look like. We're not going to really mess with that and fonts and dots and colors, etc. Sigma tool just really doesn't have that capability. That will come in a rebuild where we'll try to make it more visually appealing. Another note is that um, base layers aren't really easily possible right now. You might be able to do one base layer. And what I mean by base layer is show you these red and blue sections. So the red sections indicate Republican congressional districts and blue Democratic ones. And this was used when we were doing LFPA advocacy during the freeze last year. Some of you might remember. And we needed to quickly identify farm advocates in Republican districts. So, though base layers are actually a really, really interesting use, which will certainly absolutely be part of the rebuild, they're not really able to be put into this. Excuse me. Um, and yeah, that might be. Hmm. I don't know. Some of you also might have questions now about what is possible or not. Um, any questions on what it looks, I guess also I guess what it also looks like. We can move pretty quickly. We're gonna probably make our selections in early February. And the project can move as quickly as the participants because everything is pretty much built. Might take us a month with our developer or less to just put the tool in your hands and do that customization. Um, and I'll go over one other note on that in my next section. Any questions about what the program will look like? And thank you all. I know some people are just joining. Just note that we are recording. Um, Sorry, yeah. And Acacia, are there any questions in the chat that I need to answer?
I don't think so, though. If I haven't answered anyone's question fully, feel free to hop off mute as well and just shout out.
I put a question in the chat. Is Fresh Approach envisioning this tool to be used at the state level, like the version you just showed us for California LFPA? It seems like it was designed to work at the collection of food hubs level rather than a more fine zoomed in scenario.
This map is best for folks who represent a network of any scale. So if you're a city who's working on food security in that one city, but you have dozens of partners um, of different kinds, that is a network of an important scale. It could certainly work statewide. I mean, that's what we're using ours for. Um, but it's up to the imagination and the need of whoever's playing. I do think we have a lot of interest from people working at state levels, working at regional levels, working at cross state levels, but I think cities as well could be interested. Um, Chef, my is organized spreadsheet the best data format for you all to work with? Right now, the spreadsheet is how the tool is built. And that is how the prototype will work. We will be evaluating in the applications folks data organization. But that will be a need of the partners is to organize their data to our exact template. So we will be looking at over applications and getting a sense of how ready partners are. Like that will probably be the main work of any partner. I'm glad you brought this up, is cleaning and aligning your data to our format. In the next version of the project, it will be an online database. So it will have a better way to organize and manage and database.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes.
So I'm with a food bank and we have a network. So there's some obvious uses for this, but we're also part of the larger coalition of organizations active in disaster in the larger emergency management world. And I guess I have a few questions, but the one I can think of now is can you import data sets like you can for ArcGIS?
Yeah, so sorry, go ahead.
No, that's the question. But I guess particularly around like mapping out flood zones or fire prone neighborhoods or things like that.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I don't know if you just joined, but that was the what I mean by a base layer. So thanks for sharing those examples. Um, I might be able to do one base layer per prototype, in the way I had it. Long term, when we rebuild, that will absolutely be incorporated. But right now, that's not going to be a key area that we're able to develop, unfortunately, because I actually think that's one of the most interesting and compelling use cases. Um,
Hmm.
so short answer, I wouldn't hedge on that being a part of the capability in this prototype, but long term, when we're trying to share this with everybody, absolutely.
So do you see, or maybe you can speak to what do you see this, uh, or what do you see the value for someone like myself who's looking to, map out emergency food response and planning? Um, like, is there any functions particularly that you think are aligned well for that kind of thing that I wouldn't find in maybe, ArcGIS is probably too expensive for our budget, so we're looking at QGIS. But right now we're just in the beginning stages of creating a mapping system, and so this came across my desk yesterday, so that's why I'm here. But I don't know if you can maybe give me a quick thought on how I might be interested in using this.
Um, my first guess would be closer to that second map and really understanding the capacity of your food response or your emergency preparedness response. Who's doing what? When are they doing it? Who are their points of contacts? Um,
Yeah,
what on-site infrastructure do they have? What are they missing? Um,
so
and
we
who's
can
connected? Who's connected to who?
capacity for our pantry network, for example. We can map what they have in stock at the moment and keep that updated.
Yeah, my best guess is, and again, I would put this into I would recommend everyone putting into the application what your ideal is, and not exactly limit it to what you think this tool can do. I don't think this is as, um, we can update it probably pretty easily, like once a week, but it's not something you can update like by the hour, um, in this format. So if it's like what's on the shelves that day and you need to change that over really quickly.
No,
Um,
that's fine, but yeah. So thanks. That helps.
yeah. Any other, let's see, data sharing. Okay, yeah, great question, Helen. My hope in the rebuild, like I said, well, I didn't say this, is to also create some sort of sharing mechanism for groups who want to publish their data. Um, and find other data sets and collaboration. I do not know what that looks like. It will not be the case now. Um, yeah. But that is a good segue to data privacy. We And I'll bring back up the map as a demo. We're very sensitive to data privacy, and there's a couple things built in automatically that will be true for every map, which is when you zoom in, uh, this every dot, every farm or input is all we're collecting is zip code. Actually, I should say you can collect addresses, and we can. But this is a randomized dot to that region. So it goes from the zip code and then it just places the dot not on the exact location. So if I'm zooming into this place, it's this farm is not here. It's just a randomized. Likewise, or not likewise, but similarly, we really think of data privacy up to you all. I think in many cases, these maps are going to be privately held within your organizations. So there's not an issue of sharing it at large. But it's up to you in the data set. Oops. To what you might want to share. You could it's up to you if you wanted to anonymize names, if you wanted to like this, not collect street addresses, which we don't, just zip codes. If you wanted to leave out contact names or, social demographics, which people might be sensitive to. So a lot of that data privacy determination is up to the applicant groups about what they want to visualize. In terms of data privacy between our organizations, for any selected group, we will have a data privacy agreement. We do have to collect the data that you share with us, and we do have to exchange it with our developer. And we will have agreed upon private sharing standards and processes for where it's stored digitally and on our computers, the exchange. So that's more on data privacy. Do you have a template for how you want to see the data that you can share before we apply? No, we'll go over that if a group is selected. I shall also say, and I'll go over to the application shortly, um, where I'll answer a little bit more about that. Any other questions?
One thing I'll just add on to that last question as well. One of the major things that we're really looking for is that there is some like geographic data, like a zip code or something. The rest of it, what that actually looks like, is a little bit more flexible in terms of what you all have. So it doesn't have to immediately be when you're applying already in that like format.
Yeah,
It would help
exactly.
you be able to shape that.
Great. So I'm gonna go over now to the application. One, there's no money associated with this RFP, except this in-kind tool. So we're very sensitive to that. We're trying to select groups that are ready to go, and meaning that there will be less staff time and labor for them, because we don't want to, yeah, or we're sensitive to this being an RFP with no money. But we do think a lot of it is ready to go. And likewise, we've tried to make the application like pretty quick. Like I don't see it, well, I don't know how long people take on various things, but it really should not take, I don't see it taking more than an hour at the most. And it should be pretty straightforward. Name, website link, who's submitting, etc., what type of organization you are, um, like structurally. I need to add government here, but government's here. Your annual budget size, and we're asking that to just really get a sense of, organizational capacity and scale, number of full-time staff, the mission of your organization. Of course, we're trying to recruit organizations that are aligned with the intention of this project, which maybe I should have said at the start, is about enhancing mission-driven food systems and values-based procurement. Um, Core activities of your organization. By that, I mean, like, what are your programs? So I can say the mission of Fresh Approach is to connect local farmers to low-income communities. increase access to food. Our core activities would be mobile farmers markets, emergency food distribution, urban agriculture. That's what I mean by that. The bulk of your application is really putting forward a vision for this mapping tool, what you're really trying to map, why, how you would use it, um, and really why it's important for your organization. How will it further advance your mission? Who will be your main point of contact? Number 8 is important as well. Do you see your organization being able to use this for fundraising purposes? And the reason that's important is because our whole effort in this is to uh, secure more funding. And we think we can secure more funding if this tool can help you all secure more funding. So we are curious how you might be able to present this, or not present this tool to funders, but how you think its use could inform fundraising efforts. I don't. We've found that the storytelling of LFPA has been really helpful. It's been an easy way for us to show our impact to various funders, and it could be as simple as that. Okay, so 9 to the data question is one thing we absolutely will be looking for is we're looking to recruit groups who have pre-existing data sets. Um, this is not a project that you'll get and then you'll go out and collect the data. We're looking for groups who already have data ready to go, and is organized as much as it can be. It does not need to be organized in the way we have it now. That will come later. But we really are trying to understand if you have a data set that will allow us to move really quickly. What software spreadsheet? It could be as simple as it's in Google Sheets, it's in Excel, it's in Salesforce, it's in whatever CRM you might use. So 10, this is a list of all the data we can currently capture and visualize in our tool, the one I went through in that spreadsheet. So for this, we really want you to go in and pick out what you think you'd like to use. And I will say, I really expect no one to want to visualize every single piece of data. So I am asking for folks to be um, honest with the map is going to be most useful when you have a smaller goal in mind. Like that one I visualized just infrastructure. Or maybe it's market access. So you would go through this list and get a sense of what you think you would want to map. Um, and then to someone's question earlier, if you see something not listed, that's important for us to know, and we want to capture that. And we are looking to expand what we're collecting, and that's why we're putting this out there, is to understand different needs. So if you see something not here, or you're not sure exactly where it would fall in the categories listed in number 10, you would list it in 10A, something that's not there. And certainly, if the main thing you want to visualize is not on in the list on 10, uh, write it in because that will not at all lower your chances. We in fact are looking for things that we didn't think of. What is the geography of your data set? This was Dedelia's question. Are you looking just in a city? Is it county, statewide? Malta? It should be straightforward. Number 12 is how big is your data set? That's an important one for us. And by this question, we mean like how many rows of data do you have? And a row is like any one thing with a unique address or zip code. Honestly, if you just have 5 organizations, we probably want more than that. So we are looking to the scale. As you can see in our LFPA, like we went up quite high in California. That was like 750 or 800 organizations. You know, the map can do more than that. It can do less than that. So be realistic or like share with us what you have. But I'm not going to put a lower limit threshold on what we're looking for. But certainly if the network is quite small, that might not be the type of use case we're looking for. Um, and then is there anything else about your project that you'd like to share? Um, should be hopefully pretty straightforward. And then lastly, we are going to invite a short list of folks to 30-minute info calls before we make our selection to just get a little bit better sense of where folks are at and their use case and who their program teams are. Any questions? Feel free to come off mic.
Hi, Andy. I threw a couple questions in the chat. Sorry, I'm having just a second.
Oh, yes, I
I
see
was
them.
hearing myself twice. Okay. Um, I think trying to understand, we're looking at possibly relationship mapping for a time-bound project, which you're familiar with us. So I think I'm trying to understand if this were to be a public-facing map, like what the level of accessibility would be, if it's possible to share on a website in an interactive format. I think I'm just sort of trying to understand use case for relationship mapping and for public sharing. And then also related, we're a time-bound project, so trying to understand kind of what, if you didn't already speak to it, I apologize if you did already speak to it, but trying to understand the timeline of the collaboration that you're seeking or like timeline to the end of this pilot, and then any access or availability to the map beyond the pilot, if that makes sense. Since I know you're on like a paid service with this provider. Does that make
Um,
sense?
yeah, great question. So, absolutely, the map can be public. I don't know if it can be hosted on a separate website. I think it might just be a link to the Sigma site where you don't
Mhm.
need a unique login. I would say absolutely public access is something we want to test out. For example, like our map is not public, and is we don't have plans for it to be public. But I think that's public is itself publicly publishes itself a use case. Um, I'd have to follow up about hosting it on another website. I'm not sure. Timeline, we will probably select by like February 15th, I should say. Have to check with our developer. I believe we can move as quickly as the program teams are able to establish their goals, share, clean up their data to our template. Um, like we can move that and how much customization they need with their developer. I have to or sorry, with our developer. I there if there's any delay, it's just that I'm probably gonna have to have all four groups go at the same time rather than like one by one. So I might need to collect, I don't know. Point being is I think there will be maps in people's hands by March, end of March.
Hmm.
Um, And
And
then lastly, about continuing, like I said, we're going to re hope to rebuild this. So long term, all the pilot groups will get transitioned into the new format. I do not know how long that will take. I do not know how much money I need to raise to do it. But in the time being, all the pilot groups will have long-term access to the tool, and we will continue to update it for them, but with no more customization options. So like if you down the line want a change that's needed on the back end, we won't be able to do that, but we will be able to upload data sets routinely because it takes very little time.
okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Because I think I've covered everything that I was going to cover. So this is really a handful of minutes for you all to ask. Okay, good question. Matthew, will it handle point locations and farm-bound polygons, county polygons? I think I understand your question. I think you mean like, can it show a dot being an organization, obviously, but can it show maybe the delivery range of that organization? So like some filled in circle around a farm showing that they can deliver in a 50-mile radius. Is that what you mean? Close. So if you want to come off mic and clarify.
Yeah, so just sorry, I think your tool's really cool. I'm a PhD student over here at WVU, West Virginia University. I do a little bit of development and app development myself, and I'm just trying to get my head around, like say like we've got like a point location of like a food pantry, and then we've got a polygon, but these polygons are small polygons, like an individual farm bounds. And then let's say we have also like a county level program that is like a food distribution thing across a whole county. Would we be able to like show all three of these like different scale geographies, like individual farm parcels, individual food pantry points, and a larger scale like program that doesn't have a specific point or polygon that is itself, but is more of like the range it operates within? Um, just trying to get an idea. And it's fine if it's no. I'm just trying to get an idea of what of my data would be useful for this project.
Yeah, so my guess is no. Like if you mean like you want to see a farm's acreage spread is like 500 acres and you see that plotted out, that acreage, um, alongside like a pantry's service area. Uh,
Hmm.
I think I that's what I'll have to go back to our developer for. I would say if you're interested in that being part of a proposal, put it in, but I wouldn't count on it based on what I know of this tool because it's not GIS, so it doesn't have quite the capabilities of GIS.
Cool. Yeah. You found my background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the way our like workaround right there is like in our mapping tool, like, well, I don't know. We have an example of a delivery range being citywide, countywide, multi-county. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, that's fine. It's more of one of those things that my boss pointed me to this project and said that she thought that we might be a good fit for it. And we're sitting on almost like a wealth of different food system related data here in West Virginia, and essentially just trying to curate what would be best fitted for your program here, or your software. So um, I don't want to throw anything at it that it's not necessarily built or ready for. And we have enough data that I'm sure we've got something that would fit what this program can do.
yeah, absolutely. And I will say what the map is not capable of is also a really good question for us. Because we'll see if that's something we want the next version to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And your program looks really pretty. It's a nice visual.
Great. Glad. Glad. Any other questions? Also, quick question for you, Acacia. Do we have everyone's emails who signed up here so we can send the recording
We
out?
do.
Great, great. Um, any other questions folks have? Due January 25th.
I actually do have a question. I'm sorry, it's entirely not about the map. I wanted to know, is there a way that we can reach out to you guys with questions about other things in the food system? I saw that there's like food hub points on there, and I have a lot of questions about those.
Yeah, I'll drop my email in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, please do. Um, by a show of hands, how many people think that will apply? Or did this turn folks off? Got some.
I might. Yeah,
I
wherever
just
the hand is.
applied. Thank you.
Cool.
This was really clear and helpful.
Great. Cool. Well, we'll be doing one more info session. Sorry, I'm not someone who says sesh. I'm a surfer. Um, and due the 25th. Feel free to send more email questions if you got them.
Feel free to share this out to other folks who
Thank
may be the right
you.
fit as well.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm really impressed you did this off half a cup of coffee. Great job. Thanks for everything.
Thank you all. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.